Hello everybody! Today I'm going to teach you how to crochet the Tunisian Knit Stitch. It's a very unique stitch. As you can see, it looks very similar to knitting. It has the same texture as knitting, but it's actually crocheted. It is simple, beginner friendly and easy to learn. You can make it as long and as wide as you like. Materials you will need to crochet the Tunisian Knit Stitch will be a Tunisian crochet hook. The difference between a Tunisian and a regular crochet hook is that the Tunisian hook is very long. Here I have a regular crochet hook, whereas the Tunisian hook is a lot longer. And you will also need a darning needle to weave in your ends and a pair of scissors to cut your yarn. To start our Tunisian knit stitch, we make a chain. Make sure to keep count of your stitches as this will be important later. We chain however wide we want our piece to be. I'm going to chain 12. Now I have my chain 12. And I'm going to insert my hook into the second chain from the hook. I pull my yarn through the chain, but I'm leaving the loop on my hook. Now I put my hook into the next chain, grab the yarn, and again leave the loop on my hook. We repeat this down the chain until we reach the end. Now, however many you chained at the beginning is how many loops you should have on your hook. I chained 12, so I have 12 loops on my hook. Now we are going to grab our yarn and pull it through the first loop only. We grab our yarn again and pull it through the next 2 loops on your hook. Grab the yarn, pull it through the next 2 loops. Grab the yarn and pull it through the next 2 loops, and continue pulling through 2 loops until we only have 1 loop on our hook. Last 2 loops of my hook, and I pull the yarn through, so we only have 1 loop left on our hook. And this is how our piece should look. Now to start our next row, we need to make sure we're putting our hook into the right hole. It can be a bit difficult to find the hole, so what I like to do is spread my stitches out, and then you should see the evenly spaced out holes. It's difficult to see on camera, so just look for the loops in between the top and bottom. After you've found your holes, we're going to skip the first one and insert our hook into the second hole. Going behind our piece, grabbing our yarn and pulling it through the hole back to the front. Now we do the same in the next hole. Inserting our hook through to the back, grabbing the yarn and pulling through to the front. We're going to repeat this down until we've pulled up a loop through every hole. Now I'm up to the last hole, which can be difficult to find, but it is important you don't miss it. Always make sure the number you chained at the beginning is the number of loops you have on your hook. So since I chained 12, I should have 12 loops on my hook. Now we grab the yarn and pull it through only the first loop on our hook. Grab the yarn again and pull through 2 loops. Grab the yarn, pull through the next 2 loops, and continue pulling through the next 2 loops until we're left with 1 loop on our hook. I'm pulling the yarn through my last 2 loops, and this is what we should have. Now we just continue repeating this until we reach our desired length. Make sure you're inserting your hook into the right holes, which should be a bit easier to see now. Remember, you can stretch the row out to better see the holes. Remember Remember, when starting a new row, we always skip the first hole, inserting our hook into the second hole and pulling the yarn through. Going into the next hole and pulling up a thread. Same with the next hole. And once again, pull up a thread. And continue pulling the yarn through each hole until we reach the end. Once again, make sure you have the correct number of loops on your hook. And always make sure to pull the yarn through only one loop before pulling through the next two loops. Continue pulling the yarn through two loops until you have one loop on your hook. Now you should begin to see your knit stitch forming. We're just continuing, repeating the previous rows over again until we're happy with the length of our piece. Just as a recap, we skip the first loop, inserting our hook into the second loop, and pulling up a thread through each loop down the chain. Make sure you have the correct number of loops on your hook. Then pull the yarn through the first loop, then through the next two loops, and continue until you've reached the end. How you create your Tunisian knit stitch. This is how your piece should be looking. Just keep repeating the pattern until you've reached your desired length. After crocheting more rows, this is how your knit stitch will look. You can see the really pretty knit design. Your piece will curl around quite a lot. That is just the nature of the Tunisian knit stitch, and it's also quite thick. But you can flatten out your piece by blocking it using water or pins to help it curl less. Now, once you have reached your desired length, there are two ways you can finish it off. You can cut the yarn and use a darning needle to weave in the end. Or a technique I like to use is crocheting an edge to make it look neater. The way I do this is by inserting my hook through the spaces at the top and inserting a single crochet. I just single crochet along the edges, and you don't have to worry too much about where you're placing your single crochets, but you should easily see the evenly spaced out holes. This gives you a neater edge. I also like to single crochet down the side of my piece. It can be a little harder to insert the single crochets along the side, but you should see the holes where you can place them. It will be a bit harder to insert your hook, but you can see the gaps and single crochet down the edge. See, your crocheted edge creates a nice finish. cut the yarn, pull it through, and I like to knot these two ends together. I do it at least 2 times, usually 3, just to be safe. And now you can use your darning needle to weave in the ends. I've weaved in my ends, cutting the excess yarn. And now we have our completed Tunisian knit stitch. Thank you for watching my tutorial. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any suggestions for other crochet patterns you'd like to learn, leave it down in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe so I know you enjoyed my tutorial, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye!